Hi everyone, it's Nicola from Morecambe Bay Wills. I wanted to talk to you today's top tips are about parents, talking to your parents about wills and powers of attorney. So for many of us, our parents are of a generation that keeps money private, maybe didn't even talk to each other about money, don't want to be a burden on you, worry about other people and abuse of things like lasting powers of attorney. And it's a hard subject for us to broach. And I just wanted to share a couple of things about how I talk to my own parents about making sure that these things are done. And actually how I'm really, really grateful that I did. So a few years ago, when I first started to do wills and powers of attorney, I talked to my parents who I knew didn't have a will. They were in their early 70s. And my dad particularly was, well, that doesn't really matter because everything's going to your mum and then she'll give it to you. And then when we started talking about some of the challenges that, oh, what happens if you're no longer here and mum decides to remarry, then, you know, potentially everything could not go to us. And I think at that point, my dad was like, really? I'd never even thought about that. You know, we talked about care fees and we said, you know, potentially, you know, if something happened to you and then mum needed care, all of her care could have to be paid for by the house that you literally built. And again, you know, he was really sort of taken aback by that conversation. And it was just really mainly because obviously I was doing powers of attorney that it allowed me to start to have that conversation. But actually now I'm so grateful that I did, because actually what we all really didn't want to think was going to happen has actually happened. So we lost my dad last year. My mum is now in care. And luckily, my dad had a will that left his share into trust, and that can't be used to pay for my mum's care should that ever be needed. And I think the same with powers of attorney. People think they're invincible, whether you're, you know, 19 or whether you're 90. You know, you don't really want to face the fact that, you know, something might happen to you. But, you know, powers of attorney, again, you know, the fact that we've got them for mum now. You know, we had them for dad. We were able to do all of the things that we needed to do. Just allows us to make it easy for us and for my mum. So I think, you know, I often hear elderly people say, yeah, but I don't want to be a burden. You shouldn't have to have that responsibility. I think the way to approach them actually is just to say, well, without that responsibility and without that ability, it'll make it actually harder. So, you know, you're doing the kindest thing that you can do by making a will to make it easier for your family and to protect some of the things that you have. But actually, also, you're doing the kindest thing by actually making it simple for them. You know, the challenges of not having a power of attorney, you know, the example I often use, and it's the simplest thing. You know, my dad was in hospital, my mum was also in hospital. She'd been there for, you know, quite some time, and they were paying 80 odd pounds in Sky television for every month, you know, because my dad liked the sports, etc., etc. And, you know, we rang Sky and said, can you knock it down to the cheapest package? And the answer was not unless you have a power of attorney. Now, you know, we were able to do that simply and easily and talk to Sky because we had that power of attorney and actually save them money and save us worry. So I think the way to approach it is really just to give them some sort of simple examples like that. You know, we were able to talk to doctors on behalf of my dad, for example, you know, and explain that actually it's not a burden for you. It's not that you're trying to take over. You know, they still have control until they decide that, you know, they can give up control or they can no longer make decisions for themselves. They still have that ability to do so. So just tell them about the fact that it's the kindest thing to do. Tell them about some of the things that I've just talked to you about and maybe start the conversation there. Thank you.